Welcome. I'm Diana Lederhose, International Features Editor here at Deadline. We're in our Red Sea studio in Jeddah, and I am here with Saudi writer-director Wael Abumansour. And he is here with a competition title called Saify, which sounds, when you read the description of it, hugely entertaining. But I was going to read the description myself, but considering you made the movie, perhaps you can tell people a little bit about what it's about.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure. Saify is a feature film. It's a drama, dark comedy about a main character, a guy called Saify. He's almost a hustler, the very small time, merchant, has a small shop of cassettes. He sells everything in that shop. And he's trying to get rich and to get, connected up the ladder in society. He's very, marginalized in society. So he wants to get rich, get wealthy, and try to get to a famous, businessman in the city. But he stumbles upon a cassette where it exposed a private moment of, hot mic moment for the wealthy businessman. So he thinks of it as an opportunity to blackmail him. But as a hustler, this kind of character, he always gets into a situation and makes it worse. So he ends up making the situation even worse. With all his entanglement with his ex-wife and his partners and etc. And he keeps, escaping from one disaster to another until a final, show off of the biggest disaster on the film. And the character came to me from, I believe that I wanted to capture that character. You've seen him a lot. When I grew up, I saw him a lot around me. Somehow, this ambitious, kind of with a zeal that he's gonna make it, but he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the talent. His ideas are way off. He thinks of, he's very opportunistic. And then I think that gave me an indication for a character that if you put him in a messed up situation, that could drive, the drama in a very sarcastic way. And this is where it came and originated in my head.
So it's not from one specific person, but a kind of an amalgamation of various people.
Yes, yes. But like there is a specific person that I used to see around me, and he's always, after ideas and he believes in these ideas, and sometimes it sounds very, funny, the ideas themselves. Like if we go and take two big cars and we go, into an open land and we dig, we might find, some, metal and we can sell it. It's like, okay, that's a beautiful idea, but it's a beautiful idea for a premise for a film rather than an actual, idea in real life. So these kind of, characters, I assume we see them around us in families, in friends, in the society. And I wanted to capture that character and put him in the museum, for different, generation to come and see that character in the Museum of Cinema, if we may call it that, yeah.
I think we all know people, we've all probably come across people like that in our lives, and yes, they can be very comical. I'd love, you were mentioning before we just sat down that you were a journalist for a number of years before you became a director. I'd love to know a little bit about how that has informed how you approach
It's actually it formed me a lot. I always go back to that time when I was a journalist. Still I have sweet spot in my heart for journalism. And I think the most thing that I got from journalism is that, the research and knowing the city and kind of digging for stories. And while you're doing that, you're always finding these interesting characters and interesting premises. And the more you dig into stories, it reveals itself in a way that is like, oh my God, this is it. But cinema wasn't at my mind at the time, but storytelling was. So the most thing that I got from journalism is how to write a story, a good story, hopefully. And then the interesting side stories that you see all the time, covering the cities, covering, the daily lives of people, and, small things that sometimes a small shop cares for, but it ends up, having a big stake somehow. So I always cherish that time, and I get a lot of inspiration from it, and it helps me a lot in the research, how to look at the city, and also how to apply realism and merge it with fantasy in a way. The way I like to see cinema is like take the realism in a way and pushing the edges a little bit and make it a little bit, sarcastic.
This project is financed and backed by Telfaz. Maybe can you tell me a little bit about working with them, the experience, and just a
Yeah,
little bit
I'm really thankful for them, for their trust. It's a Telfaz11 Studios production. And I'm really thankful to them for their trust. And of course, and I also work in Telfaz11 as the head of the studios, but I put the director and writer-director hat. And this is why I appreciate my partners and having faith in me. But in Telfaz, we always look for, very original stories, and we try to tell them in a way that is capture audiences. At the end of the day, we believe cinema should, capture audiences and engage with audiences. We don't do films just for the sake of doing films for, the artist and ourselves. But we try to express ourselves in a way that is engaging with audiences, telling original stories, and spinning these original stories in a way that is, funny and fresh and has, very strong visual languages. And we're always trying to push ourselves. And in this film, we're trying to do the same.
Mm-hmm. So how does that work then, having the double, the kind of, how did it work specifically for this film? Do
Yes.
you have to kind of take yourself out completely and be...
Of course.
Right.
We have, our, mechanisms when dealing with, because all of our partners, and this is, I think, an asset for Telfaz11, is all the people that are working in Telfaz, they're not just, passionate about cinema. There are filmmakers themselves. They're either writers or directors or producers. And they have, separate, roles in the company. And for me, that's an asset and a strong point, because at the end of the day, it doesn't come from a business, just business mentality. It's very important, the business mentality, and we try to apply it in all of our works. But also, I think coming from, that artistic background as director, writers, producers, that helps us to engage with audiences in a better way, and not to be in a bubble, and to kind of understand what's the pulse in the society and what's the artistic pulse. And with that, we can connect with audiences better. Of course, as we grow, maybe we need to kind of enhance our team, get bigger. We are very ambitious. We think of ourselves as the leading studio, an independent leading studio in Saudi Arabia. Our two previous films, we have produced 9 films in 3 years, which is a lot on our scale and our team. But because we're passionate, because we're ambitious about that moment in cinema, and we want to capture it. And we won the biggest, commercial success was Sattar, produced by Ibrahim Al-Khairallah, who is a partner in Telfaz11, and it broke, box records for the Saudi film, and even it's among the top 10, competing with international titles. It made 900,000+ admission, which is huge. And then our second biggest hit was Mandoob, and Mandoob was also directed by Ali Al-Kalthami, who is a partner in Telfaz11, and he got in Mandoob. So Sattar was like a comedy directed to the Saudi market and to the regional market, and did very well. And Mandoob, we tried to kind of travel with the film, and thankfully we premiered in Toronto. Toronto Film Festival last year, and it was a huge for us and for Mandoob. And then when it was released, and it had a very beautiful tour also abroad in different festivals, but then when we released in Saudi Arabia, it also made a very significant and huge number for a genre film, which is like 600+ admission, thousands of course, and that's a huge number. To this date, it's among the top 2, top 3 films that made this. So we think we're leading the box office, and of course we want other players and other filmmakers also to deliver these big numbers, because it's good for the industry, good for everybody. It expands the industry, and we're hopeful and happy for this moment, but and we're trying to do our best in the next few years.
The pace and scale with which not just the business is growing, but also the amount of stories that are kind of getting made and I'm sure being pitched to you is incredible.
True. Yes.
I wondered, how do you navigate that in terms of because you only have capacity for so much, so how do you navigate that, and also kind of what's next, do you think, through Telfaz, but also as a director? Do you have anything else you're working on?
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas in my mind. I want to, have the proper time to sit and develop them. But I think my focus is going to be in the next 2 years to kind of make sure that for the role as a head of studio, because as you mentioned, we receive a lot of ideas, and we receive a lot of interesting collaboration locally and internationally. And there is challenges in the market, of course, in terms of financing, in terms of sometimes other challenges. But we need also to be sure that we pick the right ideas and to expand our collaboration, not to rely only on our champions in the studios, and to kind of expand that to working with other filmmakers. And we're always looking for upcoming filmmakers or established filmmakers or artists to work with. But it's a bit challenging because you need to make sure now we have a market, and there are aspiration and expectations in the market from audiences, and so we don't want to lose that connection with the audience, and deliver the right stories and expand genres as well in the meantime, because when you expand genres, you get a head start to open new also opportunities with new audiences and new segments. So we're trying our best. Of course, what helps is that the appetite is huge everywhere, and everybody wants to do, even from like international we've seen, and regional as well, the interest to come to Saudi and shoot some stories here. So we're trying to pick the right coming slate, where we tap into different genres, work with other artists and filmmakers from Saudi and the region, and expand our storytelling champions and everybody to kind of do stories that resonate not only, of course, mainly with our audiences, but has the merit to travel as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today, Wael.
Most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.